Hi everyone, this is Yurii from ORIL, and it means that you guys watching our new episode of Innovation Blueprint podcast. And today we're going to have an amazing guest, Zach Schofel. Zach, say hello to our audience.
What's up, everybody? Yurii, thank you so much for inviting me to be on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm glad that you found some time in your tough schedule and we have in this podcast. I know that we had to reschedule this before, but I'm glad that it happened. And today we're going to discuss a few things regarding the AI, regarding the real estate world and your company. So let me tell you a little bit more about Zach, and after that I will give him an opportunity to introduce himself and tell us a little bit more about the company. Zach is co-founder of the company with name Eastman Residential. So in your portfolio and your profile on LinkedIn, it says that Eastman Residential is data-driven real estate investment firm focused on developing, acquiring, and repositioning rental housing across the Eastern United States. That's kind of basic explanation. Can you please tell us a little bit more about your services that you guys provide? What do you do, and which role do you play in this process?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So I think that's a little bit dated now. Now we're national. We closed on our first property on the West Coast in Colorado about a few weeks ago.
Congrats.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. So Eastman Residential is an owner, operator, developer with about 2,000 units across the country. So Eastman Residential is the multifamily group of Eastman companies, a company started by my grandfather, led by my father and my uncle, with several million square feet of office, retail, industrial throughout the tri-state area. I joined Eastman about 4 years ago and joined forces with my cousin Mark to launch our residential platform. Historically, Eastman companies worked on just about every asset class except for residential. Both myself and Mark loved the fundamentals of the multifamily sector long term, and both had immense interest for multifamily and housing. So we launched Eastman Residential. Eastman Residential really has two verticals. One is opportunistic student housing, where we acquire distressed student housing in strong growing markets, and we convert it to its highest and best use, whether that being conventional multifamily or improving it and keeping it as student housing. The second vertical is luxury multifamily development, where we're working on several developments right now in New Jersey and other affluent markets, where the general premise of the vertical is building the highest quality condo style product in strong conventional markets, where getting the entitlement in and of itself is a major value creator. For example, markets where you're surrounded by multi-million-dollar homes where you have average rents in excess of $5,000 per unit. So you can't really build like that in most markets, but in markets you can. We believe you can achieve a strong yield on cost much higher than typical development.
Okay, thank you for sharing. The next question is, what do you guys make you different? What helps you to stand apart from the competitors in this sector?
Yeah, sure. Well, something else I do want to add real quick is, in addition to Eastman Residential, I also co-founded Cosign. And I'm sure we'll get to Cosign a little bit later, but I just wanted to address it early on. Through our experience owning, operating, developing multifamily and student housing, the biggest operational burden we've had is we had all this traffic and we've been unable to convert it because they've been outside of our criteria. 3x income, 600 credit, and due to fair housing laws, you need to adhere by that criteria to make sure you treat everyone fairly. And we had all this traffic outside of that criteria. And a lot of those people are really great people. Some of those people don't have enough money for the rent. Some of those people maybe have violent criminal history you don't want. But a lot of those people are just really good people with a blemish on their credit or first or second generation immigrant. So we launched Cosign to be that third party guarantor, that cosigner on the lease. So just to go back and answer your question, just wanted to address Cosign early on. What are we doing different? Yeah, so I would say there's a few different mentalities, the contrarian mentality or the follow herd mentality. And I think within those, there's a bunch of different opportunities to create a ton of value. Something that we kind of pride ourselves on, and I think this comes from my father, who kind of raised us. He's very entrepreneurial on himself and kind of raised us around entrepreneurship. Is just think differently, question everything, and in these two sub verticals within residential, which is not a contrarian bet because a lot of people are bullish on the fundamentals of residential long term. There are sub verticals that people aren't chasing. Why would you buy distressed student housing? Why would you build and spend way more money than the average multi-development and basically build where you don't have any direct comps? I mean, these are contrarian positions in, I would say, relatively favorable asset classes. So how are we different? We like to question the norms. And we feel like in doing that, we've uncovered certain sub asset classes, sub niches that allow us to generate really creative returns for our partners and ourselves in the firm.
Okay, sounds pretty good. And yeah, that's slightly different. And I know what you're talking about because we attend a lot of conferences and we're hearing that problem with low credit scores that kind of prevent from a lot of rents like on market. So, and may I ask you, you said that you're questioning everything. So my next question is regarding the data that you guys use and how you question the data, how you getting the data and how you use the data, because the data is the key in this business.
Yeah, 100%. Data is everything. Data is super important. I mean, as we analyze vacancy and pre-leasing trends in both conventional and student housing, I mean, on the student housing space, kind of College House is great. Axiometrics is great. They're really the two leaders in the space that have the best data in terms of analyzing pre-leasing trends. And by analyzing pre-leasing trends, you can get views on specific properties within a market, but also general kind of market knowledge and market trends relative to prior years. And same in the conventional space as well. I mean, you have CoStar, which is great, and then you have Hello Data, which Mark, the founder behind Hello Data, he's a brilliant guy. He's a genius. Very excited for what he's building and the data he's able to aggregate at a little bit more accurate and relatively cheaper than CoStar. Regardless, CoStar and Hello Data, they work hand in hand, so they both have a ton of value. But I would say those are really our two biggest sources of data. And we analyze data during the acquisition and we analyze data post-acquisition. During acquisition, really understanding growths of specific macro and micro factors in the market, specific neighborhoods, home values in those neighborhoods relative to the overall market, population growth in certain zip codes relative to the overall market, and how does that affect our rent projections and our overall sentiment on the property, and also when you own the property as well, and when you evaluate maybe potentially exiting an asset or just kind of comping your rents relative to the market. I mean, data is everything, so it's important to have data you can trust and data that's reliable.
Okay, thank you for sharing. And based on data that you guys use and you guys analyze, can you please tell us what kind of platforms or tools you guys use for day-to-day operations? What helps you to analyze the data?
Yeah, it's great. So I would say in terms of software for day-to-day operations, I would say from a property management standpoint, we use third-party property management. We self-manage everything in the tri-state area Northeast, but we believe we're the best manager in the market, which is why we manage it. But we also believe it's important to use the best local manager in each market, which is why in Nashville we use Freeman Webb, Bob Freeman, Rockstar. The entire Freeman Webb team has been great to work with. In Myrtle Beach, Asset Living is the largest manager. They have the biggest presence. We use them. In a different market, we use Greystar. So for us, it's super important that we use the best local manager. And through that, we've been able to use multiple property management systems, which ideally it's not great, but it's given us a really good perspective into how these different PMS systems operate. And it's helped me as we've developed Cosign, but it's also helped me really understand just the differences in the space. So I would say we use RealPage, Entrata, and Yurii in terms of PMSs. In terms of underwriting and kind of pre-Excel analysis, we'll use we use RedIQ to just format rent rolls and D12s. We'll plug it into our underwriting, and we use Excel for our underwriting. And we use Office 365 just to manage our data. And then in terms of just other software and data, CoStar, Axiometrics, College House, they've all, in Hello Data, they've all been very helpful.
Let's say that's a lot of tools to use and manage. And you said that they're kind of good, but not great. And why they're not great? What's wrong with them? And what would you like to change if you can?
Yeah, so I would say it's super interesting. I wear two hats. I wear my hat as an owner-operator of a real estate investment firm, and then I wear my other hat as a co-founder of this fast-growing prop tech startup. And we all know that different owners have different preferences. Every owner does something a little bit different. I mean, some owners prefer certain criteria over others, but it wasn't really till we delve into Cosign that we realized how extreme that was. You have owners that define conditional approvals differently. You have owners that have different criterias relative to credit, relative to kind of sub-factors within credit, relative to how they combine and analyze multiple income sources. So, I mean, that's just a microcosm how every single landlord and property management company operates differently, but that kind of reflects into the PMS systems. Some have more functionality than others. Like Yardi has been the long-standing leader in the space, a ton of innovation, ton of angry Yardi customers have been kind of complaining about the lack of innovation. They have been innovating recently and excited for some of the products they pushed out, but in terms of just the lack of customability from all these PMS solutions, it ends up being a little bit frustrating. But at the same time, like it can't be 100% customizable, and then there'll likely be too many issues and people getting in their own ways. So just a healthy balance, and I think part of that is just people operate differently. So there's always going to be some discourse and some areas for improvement to comply with what certain people want and what other people also may want. So I don't think there's a perfect solution, but I would say there's a lot of competition in the PMS space recently, which is exciting, which basically means each of these firms need to innovate as much as possible to beat out the other firm. And I think it's an exciting time to be in the real estate industry because there's a lot of capital in the investment space in terms of technology, which I think will lead to innovation overall, easier, better data, and smoother operations.
Okay, that's a pretty extensive answer, and thank you for sharing. And the question is, you already said that your approach helped you to stand apart from the rest of competitors. What do you think about your technical solutions that you guys use, about the tools? Do you guys use the same tools and that's not the main thing that help you to be different, or the tools also play like a unique role in this process and help you to stand out too? Or it's just an approach?
No, it's a great question. So we leverage data, and how we analyze data has allowed us to find insights, which led to us finding and really going head first in these two kind of sub niche asset classes that we found a ton of success recently. Do we have proprietary IP that allowed us to do this? No. We just analyzed the data, we questioned the data, and through that we found insights. There's a ton of other people doing, I would say, similar stuff in terms, not specific to the asset classes, but in terms of kind of questioning data and finding unique opportunities. And I think that's awesome. I think that's one of the things that make the real estate industry really exciting is like every day I'll hear about a new deal someone did that maybe I haven't heard about before, how they repurpose something differently, how they are using certain kind of tax abatements or grants to really allow them to do a certain project that isn't commonly done. And I think it's exciting, but it goes back to just kind of questioning data, questioning insights, and through that finding unique insights.
Okay, thank you for the answer. And based on everything you said, if let's say you would have an opportunity to build some custom software tool specifically for your company that will make your life easier and your business more profitable, what would it be?
Yeah, sure. So it would definitely be bank account management, 110%. We have over 50 bank accounts. Depending on who our lender is, they may require us to have a certain account with a certain DACA springing account to just kind of facilitate the first leg of the flow of capital. A lender may want us to have a certain bank account. We may have a bank as one lender who wants us to have a certain bank account. We have the third party property manager that has a bank account they want us to use that maybe even if they will let us use our own bank account, for example, in Colorado, the bank we like to use doesn't have a branch in that specific town in Colorado. So we need to use a different, more local bank. And then we have our bank accounts that we like to hold reserve capital in. So having 50 bank accounts over multiple different banks and these banking platforms, Chase, TD Bank, even some of these newer innovative banks, like they're still not relatively intuitive to manage multiple different accounts. So I think a platform, and there's a few people in the space that are starting to work on, I would say, lower cost treasury management solutions, and it's not something I'm going to do, but I wish someone a ton of success to do. Just a low cost treasury management solution that allows us to analyze and review multiple bank accounts at once and be able to kind of track certain insights and dollar amounts relative to each bank. I want to know that they paid the mortgage each month. I want to know if there's wires above $25,000 that go out. These are certain things that I think are relatively easy technologically to implement. So that's what I'm most excited for someone to innovate on in the space.
Okay, that's kind of interesting point of view. And yeah, if you have to manage like a 50 different bank accounts, that's not easy. So you need to do the integration for each of them, create a dashboard to see all that stuff there, and that's going to be a lot of permission. So that's definitely going to be something useful. And I think that a lot of people had the same pain in your field as you do. And talking about the technology, we can't avoid this topic, so we're definitely going to get to the questions about the AI. And do you guys use the AI for your existing business right now? Is it anyhow implemented in the process?
We use Claude every day. Everybody on our team has Claude, ChatGPT. I think many have Perplexity. This allows us to, I would say, not only improve our writing, ask questions, but it allows us to basically get insights on demand and become smarter people, better investment analysts, better asset managers. So I would say that's we use AI every day, and that is helpful in analyzing markets and analyzing insights that we take away from certain articles, just to become a more educated professional.
Do you plan to integrate the AI in your business as a part of your business? I'm not saying like a human replacer, but maybe some co-pilot that will help you to run the business.
For sure. So 100%. If there's a co-pilot that's helpful enough, maybe a co-pilot that we can index certain data and reference that data, that'd be really helpful for capital. he has an interesting podcast where he did this about a year ago, where he talked about an AI they built in-house for their property management firm. I mean, they have a large firm, so they have the infrastructure to do that. So I think if there's a co-pilot that we can build and put guardrails around that works, 100%. I don't think what exists right now with Microsoft is there yet, but definitely. I would say in terms of utilizing AI in operations, Elise AI has done wonders for our properties. I'm pretty sure we've implemented it across our entire portfolio, but just one portfolio, one specific property of note is a 312 unit property of ours in Nashville. It was in lease up last year, and we used the lease AI. And in Q1 of last year, we had over 150 calls before 9 a.m. and after 5 p.m. that otherwise would have been missed, and the onus would have been on the person to leave a voicemail. And then the onus would have been on the site team the next day to follow back up. And as much as we love to think that happens, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people aren't going to call back. Sometimes the site team might not get around to it, and if they do, it might be too late. So utilizing Elise AI to capture as many leads as possible has been very helpful for us, and again, maximizing conversions.
Okay, thank you for sharing. And I have a tricky question based on your previous answers.
I would say coupled with Elise AI, coupled with Cosign, really puts our properties in a great position to convert everybody. You have, in terms of converting all inbound, Elise AI coupled with Cosign allows us to really maximize attachment to every potential lead we have, which is exciting.
I know, like in general, that you can create both like the solutions and implement it for your company. But if we're talking about some bank accounts management platform and integration of AI, and you would have to choose between one of these two solutions to implement, what do you think would be first and why?
Yeah, I would say bank account management, absolutely. I mean, right now it gets updated into an Excel each week, which is great. I mean, our team is great, and we trust the data that everyone puts in, and we see statements ourselves. We review it each month. But having the actual data pulled from the bank account live that we can reference it right now, I can go on it, just see our balances. Maybe you can also, once you have enough historical data, utilize kind of create cash flow projections from it. I think that is the most important thing that we're really lacking right now as a firm, and most firms. I mean, it's not just us. It's, I would say, every real estate firm in the United States that's outside of maybe Blackstone that has a really complex treasury management system. There isn't a treasury management system, so 10, 15,000 a year. So it's the onus is on each team to manage balances, which we do on a weekly basis, but I want a live feed, and that would be number one. And then in terms of AI, that would definitely be number two. But there's no direct value from using AI. There's no direct immediate value. Hey, with AI, I'm going to buy more deals. It's going to free up more time to be a little bit more efficient, which is going to allow us to have more bandwidth, which is great and super helpful, and 100% want to implement that. I just think that bank account management is just a great solution, and is something that's very important for all operators to have and manage.
Okay, so yeah, I think like for the future, the AI will be the part of some technical tools that you guys use. The next question is just, let's use imagination. Try to see the near future. What do you think? What kind of impact the AI will have on the real estate, on the prop tech domain, and the companies similar to yours? How they're gonna change the business for the next, let's say, 5, maybe 10 years?
Sure. I would say immediate advancements utilizing AI. I think let's break it down in terms of operations. Operations assist with day-to-day admin, assist on the leasing front in terms of converting as many leads as possible, efficient marketing spend, having less leasing agents on site to answer calls because you can do that through AI, and also in the back office on the accounting sector. I mean, that's one of the biggest costs of property management companies is just the accounting teams because there's so many small transactions to reconcile and manage. So having just an AI solution helping just ensure efficient backends would be great. On the development side, every single municipality has a different zoning code, and a lot of these municipalities still have pretty much dated like GIS databases, and I think there's a huge opportunity, and people are actively just working on this, but having insight into all specific markets, zoning, and basically leveraging all data available in the zoning code to create opportunities for development. And for example, you could search for properties that have a certain zoning code that allows you to do X density that maybe have an unencumbered land site next door. So all properties that are for sale that have, or maybe 5 acres, but there's an unencumbered land site next door that isn't for sale that has X amount of acreage that gets you to that total acreage that you need for development. Like these are insights today that really have to be done manual. And these are some small specific examples, but I mean, there's a ton of opportunity as it relates to development and zoning, leveraging the efficiency and kind of data aggregation that's available with AI.
Okay, thank you for your answer. I think the last question regarding AI from my side is going to be that a lot of people kind of scare from AI a little bit. Maybe because they've been watching Terminator or a lot of post-apocalyptic movies where the AI just destroyed the world and something like that. What do you think? Would AI replace the human in the business that you guys are running, or that will be co-pilot? How many people, let's say, can be replaced with an AI?
Yeah, I don't know
And,
this.
and is it possible to put these duties and responsibilities on AI in the future completely,
Sure.
or it still needs to be some people involved in that?
Yeah, there's always going to be need. There's always going to have a need for people to be involved. I would say for our firm specifically, I think everyone at our firm is super tech forward, and everyone knows there's a place for them long term because we're in a growth phase. We're growing. We're actively doing deals, and leveraging technology and AI will allow us to do more with less, and allow our rock star team members to be more rock stars and be more efficient. But I would say generally across the industry, I mean, it's specifically as it relates to back office and maybe reducing leasing team members. Like I think that's a real concern because you'll still need to be on-site team members to tour units. You need that warmth. It's not doing anything on the maintenance side. You still need people to repair items when items break. But in terms of accounting, you're still going to need people to review the monthly financials and maybe reclass and bless, but you'll be able to do more with less. So I don't think it's the Terminator style. I think it's an exciting time to be in real estate, but this cycles throughout history where there's innovations and some jobs are lost, other jobs are created. If anything, there's less unemployment now than there was 30, 40, 50 years ago. So I think it's an exciting opportunity that maybe for those jobs that there is no longer need, I'm sure new jobs are going to be created based on kind of the new technologies that evolve from AI.
Okay, thank you for sharing. And talking about exciting opportunities, as you said, are there any exciting projects or developments that you guys working on right now and planning to launch in the near future?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I would say on the technology front, half my time spent on Eastman Residential, acquiring and developing multifamily throughout the country, and half my time spent on Cosign. And there's so many synergies between the two. We built Cosign with our experience owning and operating. So I'm super excited for Cosign. Right now we're in beta. I mean, we're in a live beta. We have a ton of landlords, over 20,000 throughout the country, throughout most major property management companies. And we've seen firsthand how Cosign is helping properties increase occupancy and how it's helping people find and move into their dream home. So, I mean, we're super excited about Cosign.
Okay, I'm glad to see you guys growing and moving forward. And because you guys do this pretty quick, can you please tell our listeners how they can find you if they will be interested in your services or maybe going to have some question to you, how they can learn about you?
Sure. So you can add me on LinkedIn, Zach Schofel. If you're interested in utilizing Cosign at a property, it's Zach at rentwithcosign.com. You can go to our website, rentwithcosign.com. Happy to get on a call and with myself and our team and demo the product. If you want to talk real estate or prop tech or anything that has to do with real estate or technology.
Okay, so thank you for sharing your contacts. Zach, thank you for being today as our guest. I appreciate this conversation. I appreciate all the answers that you gave us today. And I wish you guys all the best for your company and just keep growing. I think very soon you're going to change your name from Eastman to East and Westman company.
Yes,
so
yeah, I mean that's the goal. We're almost there. We just made our mark in Colorado, so California's next.
Okay, so good luck with that, folks, and thank you for being with us today.
Awesome, really appreciate it.
So what I can say to our listeners, guys, thank you for listening to our podcast and join us for the next podcast with our next guest that we will be launching next week. Zach, thank you one more time. Have a great day and ciao for now.